Well, they've made short work of the bowling so far, have the Delhi batsmen. The question is, can they continue the good work for the next 10 overs? First half of the innings has been impeccable. 101 for 1 in 10 overs, make that 107 for 1 in 10.1 overs, even as we start talking. Prithvi Shaw started things off. David Warner's looked in sizzling form, and in comes the captain, Rishabh Pant. Will he answer the question we asked in the show, in our build-up show? Can he break the shackles and be the Rishabh Pant we know? I'm joined on Cricbuzz Comm Box by Michael Vaughan. Michael, first and foremost, Prithvi Shaw, David Warner, taking advantage of what looks like a pitch every batsman want to wrap up and take home.
Yeah, an excellent combination. I mean, the right hand, left hand, two players with shots all the way round the ground. Yeah, it's flat. It's one of those pitches as a bowler that you just hope that a batter makes a mistake, because there's nothing really there. There's no movement. It's pure bounce, fast outfield, short one side of the wicket. So it's very, very difficult for bowlers. They've just got to try and be thinking outside of the box. I thought for the first few overs they were a bit predictable, a little bit too same. There wasn't enough variation with the paces, not consistent enough when they were trying to hit that heavy length. And those two players, when they get a pitch like this and they start to get a bit of their mojo going, it's very difficult to keep them quiet. And then they've got Rishabh Pant, who strolls out there, who looks like he's playing the way that we asked him to play pre-match. He's coming out with a license.
They just, as Rishabh Pant walked out, they put up a little graphic there comparing his strike rates over seasons, and it's progressively come down. It's gone from a 160, 170, even 180 down to a 120. But he needs to put that out and say, listen, I need to get the Rishabh Pant that everyone knows. And he started that way. Started with a 6, reverse swept 4, almost falling down. When Rishabh Pant takes one hand off the bat or loses balance, he's in form.
Yeah, and Rishabh will know that this pitch is such a good one that he can play that expansive way. I mean, you're asking him to have a strike rate of over 150 consistently over all the different surfaces. Some pitches you're striking at 130, and that's good because the pitch doesn't allow you to play an expansive way. This is the kind of pitch that he should be striking at 180 plus. It's such a good surface. His team have got the foundation set. He really has got a license of another 9.2 overs to just have some fun and lead from the front with the explosive nature of the way that he bats.
Not helping. Even as we spoke, someone like Varun Chakravarti, who got the only wicket for them, has overstepped, given a free hit to David Warner. He's gone for a reverse sweep, got an outside edge as a right-hander, and it's gone down to where a right-hander's third man or a left-hander's fine leg would have been, and got himself another boundary. But just rewinding a little bit to
I think the siren's gone off again.
Two in a row. That is criminal.
I'm afraid he's on the naughty step after the game with the bowling coach. That shouldn't be happening.
I mean, it's bad enough when it happens once. We talked a lot about Ravichandran Ashwin, who bowled one, but a spinner to do it twice in the same over, that's got to be criminal, especially on a surface like this where you are not really looking at a comeback. But let's rewind a little bit to Prithvi Shaw. That's how he plays, but he was able to be consistent over the 10 overs, 51 of 29 deliveries. He maybe even paid respect for a couple of balls to see if Umesh would get a bit of movement. And then once he teed off, he didn't stop.
Yeah, I mean, we know he's got immense talent. He's been around for a few years now. So he's getting to that stage of his career that he's got to really kick on and be consistent, produce these kind of innings on a regular basis. He looks to me like he's fitter. He looks to me like he looks a bit leaner. And I don't know whether that's himself who has kind of looked in the mirror and said, come on, I've got to make the most of this talent that I have. I haven't quite utilised it as much as I could have done over the last few years. Whether it's Ricky Ponting, who's had probably a few honest chats with him. He's such a good player that he should be dominating bowling attacks around the world, whether that's with an Indian jersey on or with a Delhi Capitals jersey on, because he's a high-class player. He's just got to now start to become more consistent, and we're seeing that in particular the last couple of innings.
I can just update you as we spoke, Michael. 24 runs off that 11th over. Generally, Cricbuzz Comm Box, the 11th over, it's a bit of a quiet over, often produces a wicket. Just the opposite has happened. 24 off the only wicket taker, Varun Chakravarti. What are Kolkata's options with the bowling? Let's have a look. Andre Russell is the only one who actually bowled a bit of a quiet over in between, slipped in a 5-run over after the strategic timeout. But they've got to find somehow, somewhere to escape. There's nowhere to hide, is there?
No, I mean, you look at those, the paces at the top, they've all travelled 46 from the initial 4 overs. The spin twins, still high class, 4 overs for 31 runs, the 1 wicket coming from Chakravarti. Look, it's one of those kind of wickets that anything under 200, I think from here, I think they'll be absolutely delighted. Do you know when I made the prediction at the start and I said 160? You were asking for a prediction after 14 overs, weren't you?
Good cop out, Michael. Well done.
I'm just checking.
You'd be just about right when we get to that stage. But what about the batting to come? I mean, when you have an innings like this or a pitch like this, it's about a relay race almost, isn't it? Everyone who walks in just has to take the baton and keep going at that same pace, like 4x100 relay. So you've had Rishabh Pant come in and he's doing that. Rovman Powell can definitely do that, as can Sarfaraz Khan. So the real power hitters are in that top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. To get the 210s, 220s, which they possibly could from this position, it'll take one of the pair out in the middle now, Warner or Pant, to go right through the innings. If you keep losing wickets, it always takes a new player 2 or 3, 4 balls to get used to conditions. So I do think, as much as it's about being aggressive and trying to hit the boundary, it's the responsibility of one of this pair to bat the innings. If one of this, outstanding left-hand combination can be there in around the 20th over, I think they're going to get well over.
Brendan McCullum was putting up a brave face when he was interviewed on the field. He said, look, we know it's a high-scoring match. We just have to try and control them to something manageable. So obviously you're not talking about a 160, 170, but maybe around a 195. Would Kolkata still say, listen, we can chase this down?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've got all the power, true pitch. You always go back to the decision at the toss. I know it's a trend to want to chase, but in an afternoon game, there's no dew, a pure wicket. I'm a little bit old school when I see a fantastic pitch and think, why not make best use of that and then throw the ball to the spinners later on when the opposition are needing 10s from the start. Time will tell whether it's a right decision or a wrong one, but whatever they're chasing, they'll fancy it with the power in that middle order for the KKR.
I think Delhi will know that, and they'll want to turn a 195 into a 220, 230 type total. They can do that. It'll spell trouble for Kolkata. All we know is there's lots and lots of runs to talk about over the next 30 overs, the 20-over run chase and the next 10 overs to come. From Cricbuzz Comm Box, that's all we have. We'll see you in the mid-innings to see how high a mountain Kolkata have to climb.